Hey everybody. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about painting actor areas. Now, previously, actor areas were just an attribute that we could assign to objects to either get other objects to spawn close to them or to get other objects to avoid them. And now, it's no longer necessary to have an object to reference an actor area to. We can use the map's coordinates to just paint actor areas directly on the map without needing any objects. So let's go into an example. So let's go to test map here, which is looking pretty simple. So let's just say that I want to create a relic that's right in the middle of the map here. So previously, the way we could achieve something like that is to have a land that's generated at position 50-50, which is in the middle of the map. We give it a land ID, which is 1, and then in the object section, we can create object relic, say place on specific land ID 1, and say find closest. So that would create a relic in the middle of the map, but we notice that we have to create a land at the beginning to specify the coordinates. And now it's not going to be necessary to use a land. We can use an actor area instead. So without a neutral land, we can try to do something else, which is create actor area. And then the create actor area command requires 4 integer arguments. So the first 2 are going to be the XY position on the map. So if I were to say 50-50, that would put it at 50-50. And then the third argument is the actor area ID. We'll call that 10. And then the last argument is the radius, and we'll call that 0. So for the relic, instead of placing on specific land ID 1, we'll say actor area to place in is going to be 10. So let's see what that does. So we can see that we have a relic over here, which is not in the middle of the map. So one of the things to know about creating actor areas is that the XY coordinates are not necessarily representing the percentage of the map's length. They're representing true tiles. So what we have here is a 6-player size map, and if we take a look, that would be a large map, which is 200 by 200. So instead of 50-50, I could say 200 by 200. No, it's 100 by 100. And now the relic is placed in the middle of the map. So the fact that actor areas have to be specified with actual tiles and not percent gives you a little bit more precision, but then it can be a bit more code intensive to protect for all sorts of map sizes. So if this was a large map, then we would put it there. But then if it's a huge map, you'd have to create a different actor area, which is halfway between 220 and 220, which would be 110 instead of 100. So that's one thing to know about creating actor areas. And in a similar way to placing inside actor areas, we can also avoid actor areas that we paint as well. So if we're a huge map, we'll just say that actor area 10 now has a radius of 50, and we'll create a whole bunch of relics instead of just one. And instead of placing an actor area 10, we will avoid actor area 10. And now we can see that we have a bunch of relics that will all stay away from the middle of the map because we had actor area 10 specified right in the middle there with a radius of 50. Additionally, painting actor areas has another feature which kind of differentiates it from lands, in the sense that you can place it outside of the map. See, a land has to have its origin physically inside the map. If we tried to specify an origin that's outside of the map, -50, -50, previously this would crash the game, but it doesn't look like that's what's going on now. And if we just got rid of these borders for a second, you can just kind of see that if the origin is unspecified, it just kind of places it anywhere. So yeah, just kind of places it anywhere. But in contrast, if we specify an actor area to be outside of the map, say -40, we should generate this, and we can see that there's this section of map here that relics are avoiding because that actor area is placed way far back over here at -40, but it's still protruding the map by 10 tiles because the actor area radius is 50. And if I were to increase that to 60, we could see that little section of the map got bigger. So placing actor areas outside of the map is a good way to help get objects to avoid the edges of the map, which is kind of a practical thing to do. So depending on the map size, we could specify an actor area ID and how much we want to avoid the edge by, and we'll just say avoid the edge by 10 tiles. And if we create different actor areas based on different map sizes, such as this, we can get all objects to consistently avoid spawning close to the edges of the map. So that's kind of a practical thing that this can be used for. We can see that was testing an 8-player map. We can test a 6-player map where we have similar avoidance, and then all the way down to a 2-player map where we have everything, well, all the relics avoiding the edge of the map by 10 tiles. Okay, so let's go on to a different example. So back to 6-player size, test number 2. So this map may look familiar to some of you. So this map is City Siege, and we had a video about making this map before. So the special feature about this map was the fact that we have a pattern of 6 monuments that are in a circle around the center of the map. And achieving this was kind of interesting because it didn't really work super well to place a land origin at each of these coordinates over here, because that kind of screwed things up when we tried to draw connections from the player lands to the center of the map. It would inadvertently draw many connections between each player and each of the neutral lands, which didn't look so good. So what we had to do was some outside of the box actor area method to get the nodes to spawn in the correct spot. And now that we're able to paint actor areas, this should be a little more straightforward. So one of the things I would like to highlight in this video is that Madlands now has actor area mode. So if we're looking at the main sheet here, the bottom half has this mode where we can switch everything from creating lands to creating all actor areas. And then the top section, each node can be configured independently, whether it's a land or an actor area. So we're going to try and simplify this a bit by creating 6 actor areas in the appropriate spots. So if we do switch this node from land to actor area, the coordinates kind of take care of themselves, but when we specify the actor area ID and the radius, that will be done in the attributes section. So I'll leave one space and call the actor area ID 12 and the radius 0. And what we can notice is that Madlands will automatically scale the given coordinate based on different map sizes. So if it's a tiny map, it'll create the actor area at 9060. If it's a small map, it'll create it at 10872. And then similarly for all other map sizes except Ludicrous. I do not support Ludicrous map size. So in this particular case, since we have a pattern of 6, we will have everything 60 degrees apart. And it's going to be 15% of the map's length away from the center. And we want all 6 of them to be actor areas. So if we go into test number 2, we need to find the section where we're generating 6 monuments. So we'll comment out this section, and we will paste in our code that creates the actor areas. So we will create object so we'll create an on-grid placeholder 1291. Number of objects will be quite a few. We will say actor area to place in is going to be 12, which is what we specified up here. And then the other things that we're going to need, giving these objects an actor area, specifying min distance route placement, and then creating the monument as a second object. So that was nice, but also keep in mind that these monuments are supposed to have map revealers around them so that players can be aware that they exist as soon as the game starts. So when we are going to try to do that, we will say create object map revealer. It's going to be basically the same thing that we did here, except we're going to have to say set place for every player so that every player gets their map revealer. And now to try and check whether or not every player got their map revealer, we'll just put a second object archer just to indicate. Now we can see right in the middle of the monument here we have an archer for every player, indicating that that map revealer was able to spawn successfully. Now, if you watched the video in which I went into a bit of detail regarding actor areas and their rules, you may be a bit curious here into seeing how we were able to place player objects in a generic actor area, because sometimes that works and sometimes that doesn't. So one revision, so to say, from the rules I stated in that video is that there's one little quirk about actor areas that can change the way they work. So the key rests up here in the land generation section. So we can see that we are creating a neutral land first and then the player lands second. And let's just say, for example, that we created the player lands first and then the neutral land second. So when we do that, we're no longer able to place player objects in the generic actor areas. And then since those don't work, the monument doesn't work either. We'll just check to make sure that's the case. Yeah. So the order of the creation of the neutral land versus the player lands kind of matters in determining whether player objects will be able to work in generic actor areas. That's kind of a weird quirk, but that's helpful to know. And then just to reinforce that point a bit further, let's go back to test number 3 over here. Let's get rid of this. We will bring back this neutral land, change its coordinates back to the middle of the map. So now we have this over here, where we have a bunch of flags in the middle of the map, which are constituting actor area number 1. And later on, if we want to reference the player scout to actor area 1, say actor area to place in is 1, and we say find closest, we can see that among all the players, only player 1 had their scout in the correct position, and then for all the other players, the scout fails to spawn entirely. And then if we were to go up into the land section here, adjust this slightly so that instead of creating the player lands first, we create a neutral land first and create the player lands second. Now all of the players have their scouts spawning in actor area 1. And then the last thing I wanted to go over is that the Madlands randomizer can now handle actor areas as well. So the same way we would do it with lands, if we just said we want 5 configurations 5 degrees apart with a variance of 1, we want to include 6 lands. It says it found 0 player lands, 0 neutral lands, and 6 actor areas, which is right. So we'll continue with that. And then instead of 1 set of actor areas, we now have 5 different configurations of actor areas, which we could use instead if we wanted. And then notably, if we had any amount of variance specified, like we did over here, the variance would also scale based on map size. So when we have a tiny map, it ranges from 77 to 79, so it's just variance of 1 tile. And then if we went all the way up here to a gigantic map, we can see that the variance is between 54 and 58. So that variance is going to be slightly bigger with the bigger map size. And then now we can see that the monuments are having a bit of randomness in their position based on the configurations and variants that we specified. So that's a relatively short video for today, but thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have learned something.